Charlie. I go to the 12 to 14 youth group at the Unicorn on a Wednesday, and I'm here interviewing Ros, who is the director of the Three Musketeers. So, Ros, who are you planning to aim the Three Musketeers to?
We're aiming it to pupils and their parents and teachers from 10 years old and above, because like I've been already saying, that actually some of the Three Musketeers world is quite a brutal world. This young man, D'Artagnan, comes into this world expecting adventure and fun and frolics and sword fighting, all being something that's quite heroic and sort of Superman-like. But he actually finds out that also when you get involved in that world and you're fighting for your king and country, there are sometimes quite difficult things that happen. There's love, there's war, there's death, and so we feel that this subject matter is important subject matter, but we feel that children under 10 it wouldn't be quite suitable for. We feel that if you're above 10, you'd be able to think about those issues, and you'd be able to start thinking, well, if I'm a musketeer, what does it really mean if I'm going to fight for my king and my country? What does it mean if I'm actually having to face an enemy? What does it mean if I'm getting involved with plots and intrigues, or to do with the palace and the court? And we feel that young people, young teenagers and their families and pupils of 10 and above will be able to think about those themes. So that's who we're aiming it for. We've tried to be quite careful. We've made this leaflet, the Three Musketeers. We've tried to show that it is something that isn't just frills and frolics. It's something that maybe has got quite a dark and a deep side to it. And we've made sure that everybody knows that this is a world that D'Artagnan enters full of hope, and he's left home and full of excitement, but actually he has to learn to face that life isn't always, things aren't always simple as they seem. So that's who we've aimed it for.
Okay, and so how are you planning to portray the production going on from that? What kind of feeling do you want people to go away with it?
Well, it's interesting that you should say that, because Carl, who's adapted it from the novel, was very keen that it was modern. So although it's set in the past, and the characters will talk as if they're in the past, and the concerns are very much about what happens in the past, the position of women, the relationship between France and England, for example, things that aren't necessarily happening now, but we felt it was very important to sort of shine that light in a modern world, in a contemporary world, because those big themes are the same now, often as they were then. So it's a very modern picture with modern costumes. Also, though, we're trying, as always, we do at the Unicorn, to make it very theatrical, so that it's not literal. It's not. There aren't any tables and chairs. There's going to be lots of chases and balconies and people being able to sort of run all over the space. It's a beautiful set with lots of steel bars and scaffolding. And we're making it very clear to everybody that this is a piece of theatre. It's not like a film, it's not literal, it's something that's very theatrical. That means that it helps us jump from France to England, into the Channel, on a boat, in a palace, on a battlefield. All the way that we do it in a very sort of modern visual way will help tell that story, hopefully quite thrillingly, and hopefully that everybody understands where we are at any one time.
Okay, so you're saying that you want it to be quite an action-packed thing. Is that the kind of directing style that you might give in the rehearsal room?
Yes, absolutely, and it's you've actually sort of really got my directing style by asking that question, because I sort of hardly ever sit down in the rehearsal room. I'm very up. I'm very much involved with the actors. I try and make sure that we're always trying things out on our feet. And there's a famous director, Peter Brook, who gave this bit of advice that I always find very useful. He said, in a rehearsal day, you should do playful things, emotional things, and cerebral things. So we might do playful things where we play games as the characters, or we have an exercise where, because we're doing a novel, what I've been doing, I've done 1 week of rehearsal so far, and I read the section out from the novel, and all the actors act it out. So that I'm saying, and D'Artagnan is moving, he's going up the road on his horse, and so Liam is pretending to be on a horse, and And then he meets the man from Mungo, gets out his sword. And so we have quite a playful look at the scene. And then we have a cerebral or an intellectual look at the scene where we sit down and we say, what does each character want? What's happening in this scene? What does this word mean? How have they changed by the end of the scene? So that's quite, we go quite heady, if you like. And then we might have finally an emotional moment where I might say, okay, I don't need anybody else apart from D'Artagnan and Milady, and I just want the room very, very quiet, and I want the two of you just to think about how you feel about each other, and what your emotions are to each other, and they might improvise the scene, and in that sort of deeper feelings come. So hopefully in a day we've done the playful, the intellectual and the emotional, and it means we don't sort of get stuck in one way. And because our ensemble are very fit, every morning they do this warm-up, which helps us with the action-packed adventure, because they physically warm themselves up. They're very good at doing hundreds of press-ups, and they warm up their voices, and then they practice their sword fighting. So they're learning how to sword fight they're learning how to fight both with swords and also unarmed combat with two wonderful fight directors. So hopefully when you get to come to see it, it will indeed be action-packed.
Yes, it sounds very action-packed indeed.